or make any other annotations in the margins? Does everyone have a chance to answer? Great. So it looks like everyone said yes. And I put that last option in there. No way, I'd never ruin a book by writing in it, because I do know a lot of people who would never ruin their books by writing in them or highlighting. And especially if it's a textbook, you know, sometimes you want to sell them back to your school and they're not going to take them if there's a lot of writing in them. But for personal use, you know, a lot of us do actually do that. And so my next question is, and feel free to unmute your mics if you want to answer this question, is why do you do that?
It helps me keep track of the things that are relevant to me so that I can find them again more quickly.
Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, for me, it helps me connect ideas. Like if I see something in a book that sparks something I've read elsewhere, I'll write sort of little personal cross-references.
Perfect. Anyone else have a different reason why they annotate, maybe write in the margins of books and things? As for me, I totally use it for an organizational, as an organizational process, especially if I'm reacting to something. I want to remember my reaction to something I read, but also to help me work through questions I have. I write a ton of questions about my own reading in the margins. And it's something that just sort of helps me work through my thinking about what I'm reading. So we're going to go through quickly what the tool is, and then how do we use it. And then someone hopefully will volunteer to use it for us and try it out. And if we have time, more than one person can use it and try it out. And then we'll just sort of discuss if there are any questions about it. So hopefully you've all been to this page and you have installed your plugin. So Hypothesis is a Chrome plugin, so it only works within Chrome. And it allows you to annotate PDFs and web pages online as long as the plugin is installed and as long as it is activated. And again, it only works in Chrome. So this is just an example of how messy annotation can get when you're doing it you know, with your own materials and your own books. And so, you know, I think that there's probably a lot to say about people's personal annotation style, whether they keep it neat, whether they keep it sloppy. And, you know, in the margin of an actual textbook or an article, you only have so much room. So, you know, a lot of times when we're talking about organization, we use colors and different markers to sort of show what we're saying. But with Hypothesis, you really have as much room as you could possibly want in the margin of your PDF or your web page. And we'll see that next. So this is one of our recent readings, and I annotated this online, and you can see my highlights. But what's great about Hypothesis online annotation is that you can also take notes within the margin of the PDF or the web page, and that's what this example is showing. So these are notes that I took to myself in this reading, and I'm sorry I can't remember the author. I probably should have noted that, but it's something that we're going to be looking at later, and I think it was in week 2 or week 3. This was just one of the online articles that we had to read. And so as I was highlighting and as I was reading, I was taking notes to myself about the ideas that were being shared to sort of remember what my thoughts were. And I actually used a lot of these annotations in one of our recent writing assignments on the Kolb and Horton discussion. I took a lot of my response straight from my notes that I'd taken a couple weeks before. So it's really helpful for me to be able to go back to my notes and see what I wrote. And so you'll see at the top of the page I'm sharing the word public. So anyone who has Hypothesis installed and has it activated on this particular web page will be able to see all of my notes because I made them public. But you also have the option of making them private if you don't want to share. But the reason that I would like to point out why public annotation is so helpful is that it creates an online discussion. So here's a reading from a games and learning class with Rami Kalir that Robert was in. He probably, if I scroll down in these annotations, we'll probably see some of Robert's annotations. This class was a year ago, last spring, and we annotated this web page together as a class. So I started a discussion thread, and then another classmate named Lisa started replied to my discussion thread, and then we had this conversation. Now, when was this happening? Were we in the document together, talking together? Well, actually, we weren't. We were reading this document at different times, and so she picked up on my conversation and jumped in whenever she could. So that's another reason why I'm making this annotation public. Anyone can jump in from anywhere in the world and participate in this conversation. So the obvious parallel that I'm drawing is here with our Canvas course discussions, where we log in and we follow a discussion thread about our readings, but our readings aren't there in front of us. So our reading may be in another place next to us, but not actually in the discussion. So what's different about this kind of online discussion is that the reading is on the left and the discussion is on the right, and you can constantly refer back and forth from one to the other. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions so far? And you can also add pictures, GIFs. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it GIF or GIF? You can add GIFs or pictures, or you can format your notes like highlight and bold and italics to put emphasis. You can link to YouTube videos. You can link to articles. So you have a chat question coming in. Oops. Well, I can't. I don't know how to get to the chat while I'm in sharing mode, but we'll figure it out later. So I wanted to try it out with someone. And if you see in the right-hand corner of this page, you can see that the plugin is installed because it looks like a little chat bubble. So that's how you know, once you've installed it, the next time you go to Chrome, that's how you know that the Hypothesis tool is plugged in. So this is just the home page of our program. So next, this is the reading that I was referring to, and you can see that I've opened it up in Chrome, and that it has already been annotated. So can anyone tell me how many public annotations are already on this webpage? Just anybody? I'm having trouble opening my chat. So if anyone would like to shout it out.
20.
20. So if you said 20, you are correct. There are 20 public annotations on this webpage. Now, the next slide will show you what the tool looks like when it's activated. All of a sudden, the tool is activated, the plugin is activated, and it turns black. There's a black outline. And you can see all of a sudden all the annotations that have been made. So they all of a sudden appear. And if they're public, you can actually see them. So in order to add your own, you have to be logged in. So let's practice. Would anyone like to play around with it. And what I'm going to do is hand over control of the Hi. I'm going to hand over control of the screen and everything so that you can try it out. Let me go to the chat and see if there are any questions. It's GIF. My friend Megan privately told me that it's GIF. I had no idea. Thank you. So who would like to, oops. Who would like to try out the tool?
I can.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to give you the link to the article in the chat area. So Alyssa, just make sure that when you copy it and paste it, that you're pasting it into a Chrome browser.
Okay. All right, got it open.
Awesome. And you've already installed Hypothesis, right?
Yep.
Okay. So now, awesome. So I'm going to try to give you, oh, you already have control, don't you?
Yep.
Okay. So what the first thing you need to do is activate the, there you go. And you have to be logged in.
Mm-hmm.
So you highlighted that blue part.
Yep.
And you're typing your notes.
Yep. Just showing off.
Just showing off. Well, you're doing a great job showing off. So I want you to go back and do it again. Highlight a text, highlight a sentence. And before you choose an option, I want you to just show everyone what your options are when you highlight something. All right, so when you, so don't do anything yet. So when you highlight a text, you have two choices, whether to just highlight or make an annotation. So if you just highlight it, it just turns it yellow, like that. And if you choose to annotate, it opens up on the right a little space for you to write your annotation. So what I was saying earlier about how, in the margin of your book, you only have, this much space. In the margin of a document you're annotating with Hypothesis, you can go on forever and ever and ever. I don't know who would want to read, your whole story about this one line in this web page, but you do have the option of, writing basically as much as you want. And that's about it. So you can either, if you have any questions, you can either chat them out or.
Well, I've used Hypothesis in the past, and
Awesome.
If you want, you can actually post in like videos or images, because we did that once.
Yeah.
I had one of Ramey's classes last year, and one of the things that we were reading sparked a memory of a scene from one of the Lord of the Rings movies. So I posted a link to a YouTube capture of that scene, and that actually sparked a very interesting discussion.
So people went in and commented on your
on the connection that I made to what I was reading.
Was it something that they hadn't thought of?
We were talking about, different learning nodes, how like one node will set off another node, which will set off another one.
Nice.
And it reminded me of that scene in Lord of the Rings where the one guy lights the fire and then the next guy in the team lights the fire until it, goes hundreds of miles.
Right. Awesome. And Robert and I used it a lot in our course with Ramey as well. So yeah, are there any questions? All right. Well, thanks so much for joining. Sorry about the glitches in the beginning. And I have to say, I'm glad this is over. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.